Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in into the Step into the Spotlight panel at WonderCon at Home. We have three fantastic authors here to talk about bringing music to the page and all of the fun and challenge that came along with it. I'd love to get started by having each of you introduce yourselves. I'm seeing Hope first, so let's start with Hope Larson.
Hi, I think I'm first because I showed up super early for the Zoom, like I do for everything. Hi, I'm Hope Larson. I am an author and cartoonist. I'm probably best known for my adaptation of Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time into a graphic novel. And here today I'm here to talk about my Eagle Rock series, All Summer Long and All Together Now.
Thanks so much, Hope. Really excited for the third in the series as well, which I know is coming out soon. Akemi, would you like to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Generation Misfits?
Yeah, hi, my name is Akemi Dawn Bowman. I'm an author. My upcoming book is my first middle grade. It's called Generation Misfits, which is about a girl who goes to a public school for the first time and just really wants to make friends, and that doesn't really go to plan. And she kind of ends up meeting a group of misfit kids through a shared love of J-pop. So.
Love it. And rounding it out with Alex.
Hi there, my name's Alex. I write graphic novels and prose novels. We're here mostly to talk about The Backups, which is coming out when this panel's live, it will have already come out, which is a story of three girls who go to a performing arts high school in New York, and they compete and win the right to be the backup singers on a big international pop stars summer tour. And there is tour drama and showmances and everything you could possibly imagine in a big pop tour across the United States. A lot of it's from when I was a music video director, I had a lot of encounters with the pop music industry, and I truly love it. And it's really fun to bring these characters to life with talking about different aspects of the actual business of performing and the mechanics of a big concert tour and the creative life as a musician.
That sounds so fascinating. I think a lot of books about music kind of come from a different lens, from music fans and appreciators. So really awesome to pull back the curtain and see it from the other side. I think the first thing that we would love to know is if any of you are musicians of any kinds, or if you come from a performer background, and just in general, what role music plays in your everyday lives, why you decided to bring it into the books that you're writing today.
I'm definitely not a musician. I don't really play much of anything. I actually only started learning the guitar when I was writing these books, writing and drawing them, to sort of get a sense of it. The reason that I wanted to write about music is because for a while when I was living in Los Angeles, I had a boyfriend who was a promoter and a DJ and worked mostly at the Echo, which is this cool sort of grungy little club in LA. So I got to just see a ton of shows with him and see behind the curtain a little bit of promoter band relations. And
Akemi, I'd love to hear more about your background with music. What inspired you to write Generation Misfits about music?
Yeah, Generation Misfits also has a performing arts school. I went to a performing arts high school. I was a band major. My dad, he played trumpet and trombone when he was younger and wanted all his kids to be in a band. I think he had this fantasy that we were gonna, be in like a band together. So he had all of us learn different instruments. I learned flute and piano since I was about 5 and 6. They were kind of strict with it, and I kind of dipped off into not loving it for a while and then kind of found it again. So this is sort of inspired by how that felt to be kind of like forced into music and then kind of like rediscover the love for it, I guess.
And with me, as I said, when I lived in London, I directed a ton of music videos. I was friends with a lot of musicians. Weekend nights would involve helping someone lug the bass amp out of the club into the van in heels. It's just been a huge part of my life, and my friends' lives. I don't play anything myself. I hold the camera, which is kind of appropriate for the book, I suppose. And my books have always involved music in a way. I mean, Bad Girls, which is a noir story, heist story set in Cuba in the late 50s, has an entire soundtrack to it. There's music lyrics in the book, which involved having to get publishing licenses for various songs from the 50s, which is something I would recommend you never do, because it was a trek. So yeah, I'm always interested in combining music with sequential storytelling, both from a pacing point of view and an inspiration point of view.
Does anybody know what the rule is for using music in a book without needing a license? Isn't it like 4 words that you can use, something like that?
Oh, it's something ridiculous. Yeah, you can't, basically, is the thing.
Yeah,
Fair
I think I
use.
did the 4 words. So
Yeah. Thank you so much for your amazing answers. I love how much you brought from your personal life to these projects. Performing arts school, when you mentioned that, Alex, I was thinking of LaGuardia in New York City, which is a very popular and famous performing arts school here.
The school in the backups is sort of based on LaGuardia. The only thing is, like, you see it for about 2 pages, and then it's like, well, they're off on the summer tour now, because with the meat of it is, like practicing with this big pop star Anika Nitro for her tour. Like, if you imagine like a Megan Thee Stallion tour, or Beyonce, or if any of you saw the Ariana Grande like concert documentary, that sort of world. So these high school girls who think they're all like really self-sufficient and stuff like that get thrown into this world where they're expected to act in a much more professional way.
That sounds like such a dream, a real like escapist fantasy. All 3 of your books are about music bringing people together and building confidence, which I think, shares a lot of characteristics with books, in that they create powerful connections between people. Why do you think like those 2 mediums have so much in common in that way? And I think maybe we can, yes, yeah.
I mean, music is one of the few art forms that you actually, if you really love it, you're singing along with it. You're actually saying the words, you're breathing them out, you're bringing them into your body and singing them out again. So I think it's something that people connect with very, very personally, and the lyrics are often vague enough to be applicable to a lot of different people's situations. So they feel seen and they feel like they're a part of it. And I think that's the same with YA literature in a way, is, you're reading it to see other people hopefully going through the same situations as you are. Not the exact same, obviously, but a similar situation. Akemi's the struggle of a new kid coming into a school where they don't really fit in. Hope's musicians finding themselves as well. You want to see your experiences echoed and validated in some way.
yeah, they're both mediums that let you feel what the creator was feeling to an extent as they were making the writing the book or writing the song. I mean, that was one of the things that I found particularly fun about learning to play guitar a little bit badly and writing some songs of my own badly, is that you can really lock into this emotional core. And I really think that writing and music are the only ways that I've accessed that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think music too, for like a lot of people who like love it, even if they're not like musicians themselves, just to have that love of music is just a form of expression. And I think there's so many different types of music that you can use to kind of like, I don't know, work, whether it's inspiring you or whether you're using it because you're getting over some kind of, personal thing in your life. I think it's just something that helps you express yourself. And I think you said something about confidence, right? About how it gives people confidence. And I think like for me, I feel like a lot of that is because like I have social anxiety, so it's kind of difficult for me to talk to people sometimes. And I feel like music and just having that kind of outlet of it just helps you, I guess, work through things and kind of speak to something in a different way that's maybe not necessarily always verbal, if that kind of makes sense. I don't know.
Oh, totally.
The character in the backups who's very much like that. She's like very nonverbal when she gets stressed, and she really loves metal and dark wave. So she loves like really hard electronica and the metal end of that as well. And then, you know, one of the girls is a classically trained cellist, and that's what she thinks she wants to be, but she goes on this tour to kind of learn to loosen up. And the other one's really into pop music, and they're all teaching each other about what they love about their own types of music that call to them, and begin to understand what they see in other forms of music. I mean, the dark wave girl obviously like starts off really not liking pop music and like considering it's like, oh, it's all like love garbage. And you know, Jenny, the pop music lover, basically explains the gospel according to Taylor Swift, which is like, this is actually music about, it's not really about love, it's about all sorts of other emotions, but it's cloaked in that. Like every Taylor Swift song is about how angry she is. You know, like, you know, the Beach Boys wrote one of the great pop records of all time, and it's basically about depression. You know, there's tons of examples of it. So they're all sharing what they love. And also they're sharing some of their disappointments as well, in that, you know, sometimes meeting your musical heroes is not an experience you want to have.
Those are all really well put. I love what you said about how like this is a way to kind of express yourself without words if you don't have the words to say them. That kind of encapsulates what music is about in a way that's really unique from other mediums. And speaking of other mediums, the way each of you created this books is very different. What challenges did you think that you have, maybe expected and unexpected, trying to bring music to life in each of these different mediums? You know, Hope, you wrote and illustrated your own story. Akemi, you wrote a prose novel. And then Alex, you wrote a graphic novel and worked with illustrators and artists to bring this to life. I'd love to hear more about the process behind them.
For me, the biggest challenge is that you can't hear music in a comic. And that's also what makes it really fun. It's like, how can I express how this sounds visually? Like, what's the important part to convey about what this character is hearing in this song and how it's making them feel? And I've tried that a few different ways throughout the series. I think in the final volume, I go a little bit more into experimental visual stuff. And the other two, it's more fun type or fun lettering for the lyrics.
Yeah, that was the biggest challenge for me, but I decided I wasn't going to have any lyrics, that you just have to imagine them, because I didn't want people to be like, oh, the lyrics suck, or like, oh, this song sounds really lame, because like kids will have opinions about this depending on what their own taste in music is. So all of the music is expressed purely visually, you know, sometimes through like really weird emojis, or sometimes through designs, but like you know what kind of music you're listening to by the shape and the colors of the design work around the people playing. So like there's like this like really indie punk band that the girls meet and get in giant trouble with, and they've got these really like harsh, like jagged, but still really cool designs around them. You know, when the big pop singer sings her big R&B ballad, like it's all swoopy and curly and stuff like that. So you know what you're listening to by looking at it, but then you can imagine in your own head, which kids are really capable of doing, what that actual song is, and you can just pick your favorite song and slot it in there.
Yeah, that's actually really, really similar to what I did in All My Friends, which is the third book in this series that's not out yet.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like those a lot, and it's cool that the visual stuff. For me, since it was prose, it's sort of, there's no lyrics in mine either, but it's kind of more about, I guess, showing the emotion that they're feeling behind the song. And obviously every single time a song comes on, you can't like have the same kind of like wording to like explain that they're listening to music. So for me, it was kind of getting behind the emotion of what it was making them feel. And they also dance to the music because it's J-pop, so it's fun and stuff. And so there was like a lot more like the dance moves and like how they were kind of like interacting with the song, if that makes sense. So yeah.
I think that must have worked really well for J-pop, because assuming if they're like American listeners who don't speak Japanese, they wouldn't necessarily understand the lyrics of some of the songs. I mean, I know some J-pop songs are in English, but you know, so they're dancing along to something that they don't actually necessarily know the meaning of themselves.
Yeah. I
actually wrote the lyrics. Oh,
cool.
Everybody's got to read my bad poetry. Sorry.
I'm sure it's wonderful.
I had fun. This is my one chance to write some songs.
Yeah, I knew too many musicians to do that, because like I've had the whole like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and pop song structure beaten into me, and I just was like, oh, I don't.
Well, you all have, fictional bands and artists in your books. What kind of inspiration do you draw from real artists, and what was the process of, coming up with these performers, and in Hope's case, the lyrics, and in others, song titles for your characters?
Some of the musicians in, especially in All Summer Long, there's a girl in a band who is sort of like an idol for the main character. And she was based on a real person that I briefly met one night at the club, and just found really striking. She made a big visual impression and had this like big personality. Ended up not being a very nice person, but I made her cool in my book.
Yeah, our girls had more of more of that experience fully, in that Maggie, the indie girl who loves like dark waves, she really wanted to go see this band while they're on tour, that was playing an under 21 show, and she really looked up to the drummer of this band, and like they were the big thing for her, and they were her idols. And those girls are like, they're not nice girls at all, but everything they say is right about being in a struggling indie band and following your dreams and how hard it is. And they really resent the big pop star because they think she really has it easy. I mean, she doesn't have it easy. That's a whole other subplot. But it's about, there's a lot of stuff in my story about the public impression you have of a artist and what they're really like as a person, and how everybody has secrets and everybody is not necessarily what you see on stage. And some of the people you start off probably not liking in the book, you'll really love by the end. And the people you start off thinking are really cool, you're going to be like, yikes, So that was that. And that's a lot based on personal experiences of knowing musicians, some of whom are truly wonderful human beings, and some of whom, like, there's a quite a famous pop punk musician whose poster I had on my wall. And I ran into her at a party much later in my life, and it was bad. It was real bad. Like, I didn't even speak. I wasn't speaking to her because I was speaking to a friend, and she came over and she was talking to a friend of mine, and I was kind of because she was flirting really hard with him, and I was kind of standing there like, I don't think she realizes that he's married to that guy over there. And famous pop punk star turns around and goes, "What's wrong, honey? Am I hitting on your man?" I'm like, "No, you're hitting on his man." And it was just like, it's funny because like I looked up to this person when I was a teenager and wanted to dress like her and wanted to be her, and then she just turns out to be this complete garbage basket when I finally met her 20 years later. Don't meet your heroes, kids. Just admire them from afar.
Yeah, a hard lesson to learn, but I think everyone comes up to that at some point in their life, sadly.
Yeah. We've all had that one writer or musician or whatever that you're like, oh.
Akemi, I feel like this is cheating because I was there with you when you came up with Generation Love, but could you share a little bit what your inspiration was and how you came to like this all-girl pop band that is sort of like larger than life in the book? I think a lot of readers thought that they were real, which was really funny.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Generation Love is the fictional J-pop group in Generation Misfits. And it's the band that they all love and want to emulate and stuff. So they start like a imitation band to sing all their songs and things. And I guess for me, I wanted to create a band that was sort of, I know Blackpink is K-pop, but that has the same kind of impact that Blackpink has on its fans, or Little Mix, And so so that's kind of where it came from. I love the music videos that have like so much color and so much like character to them. And so I wanted Generation Love to kind of feel like that too. Like every single person was almost like a character in a show or something. Do you know what I mean? Where you like just know their personality and it just suits it so well. So yeah, that's where it kind of came from. I listened to a lot of J-pop too when I was writing it, and there's a band called Fakey, and they're really good.
That's awesome. I'm a little old, so I feel like I would date myself talking about which J-pop bands I was I was familiar with growing up, but you know, Akemi, you're definitely on top of the current trends. I think that's something that really. Sorry?
Akemi should do a playlist on Spotify or something.
Yeah, that would be cool. That's a good idea.
It would also help people like kind of listen to the music if they're not J-pop fans, but they like pop music, you know, or they only know K-pop, for example.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the differences, you know, as a Kidlit editor myself, between adult, you know, books and kid books is just that there's a sort of underlying message and a care with regards to what a reader takes away from the books that is more pronounced. So I wonder what each of you would like your readers to take away from each individual book, if there is one, if, you know, there's something that you particularly hope that they pick up on, or if it was just, you know, an entertaining story that you want to tell, which is also perfectly awesome.
Well, for me as a creator, I always have struggled with a bit of imposter syndrome. And the message that I really wanted to lay out in these books is that there's no prerequisite for making art or for making music. You can just come as you are, you know, and find your way by doing. And that's perfectly acceptable. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be flawless. You just have to start.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I think for my books have all had sort of a similar theme of found family, and that's the same in Generation Misfits. And it's sort of just like this kind of reminder that, you know, not everybody is, you know, has the privilege of being born into a family who maybe loves them the way that they need to be loved, or who treats them the way that they deserve to be treated. And so like, it doesn't have to stop there. Like, you can find your family, you know, in friendships and in other people in your life. And it's not just where you are in that moment of your life, especially when you're young and growing up and you kind of don't have as much freedom to kind of just fly away and go somewhere else, to just know that there's still hope out there. And, you know, it's, you know, you can find that love you need. So
I've got totally like the anime message of like the real superpower was friendship all along. And like, you know, the book is all about choices these girls, everyone in the book is making some really difficult choices, and what gets them through it is supporting each other as friends. Both the major pop star Nika, she's going through something, and she reaches out and to an old friend of hers that she'd had a falling out with, and there's a very healing experience there. To the three girls who both figuratively and literally band together. They form a little band while they're on tour, which backing singers always do. In the midst of this distractions about like things they're trying to get done on tour, and Jenny having a crush on the supporting act singer and stuff, they get through everything by choosing female friendship over boys and short-term things like that.
All like really important lessons, I think, and models of behavior for young children. Akemi, what you said about found family and finding hope, I feel like just transcends ages and is one of the most, I don't know, meaningful things to take away from books, that, you know, it can be different. It can be better. Well, now that you all have, you know, books that are coming out, you finished your work on them, hopefully, and hope that you have 2 books and another forthcoming. What are you working on now? What's in the future?
I have a draft in that I'm waiting for notes on, which is always a first draft, which is always real scary. So that's kind of where I am. And starting to outline and come up with ideas for whatever's beyond that, which I'm also waiting for feedback on from my agent. So I'm kind of just chilling and stressing, you know?
I just turned in final revisions for my second novel last night, which is why I'm kind of brain dead right now, because I'm like, go away, little manuscript, but also I want to take you back and like fix a whole bunch of things that I'm not sure I fixed right. My editor's like, step away from the keyboard. I'm pitching a TV series. And I mean, for kids, I'm about to go out in the next couple of months with 2 middle grade graphic novel pitches, both of which are not music related, but they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm working. I've turned in edits on my sequel for the Infinity Course, which is my next book that's actually coming out. It comes out before Generation Misfits, and it's my sci-fi. And yeah, so I turned in edits on that, even though didn't feel like it was ready at all. But I was like, I think I just had to like let it go. It's like that horrible moment where you know it still needs so much work, and you're like, I'm embarrassed of all of this, but obviously there's deadlines. So
I know like, how do I English? Like, I can't believe people pay me for this. Like, why did I think I could put that word twice in this paragraph? Save me now.
Yeah, I always like want to type disclaimers in my emails, and I have to delete it because I don't want to embarrass myself. But I feel like no matter what I send, it's always like, just so you know, I will fix this, all of it. But,
yeah, I disclaimed my book in my email to my editor because it's a big format shift for me. It's not a graphic novel. So I was kind of just like, I gotta get some eyeballs on this thing. Just tell me the truth. Help.
Hope, what is it if not a graphic novel? Is it illustrated book?
It's a hybrid book. So it's a mix of prose and illustration and other stuff.
Okay.
That's so exciting. Well, along those lines, do any of you have plans to branch out into other age ranges or genres, or do you think that you're kind of squarely in like one part of the market, like find a home there?
I'm always jumping around. I wish I could just sort of like pick a lane and stay in it and just cruise on through my career, but I can't do it. So the thing that I just submitted is YA. And it's been a fun, refreshing change from middle grade. As much as I love middle grade, it's nice to mix it up. And I'm also doing some TV stuff, some development with people I can't talk about, but that's been fun too.
Yeah, I'm all over the place all the time. I mean, I had 3 books out this autumn. One of them, a graphic novel, feminist retelling of and modernization of Dracula, the name I can't actually say because it has a swear in it. A book called True War Stories, which was, I edited with a friend. We took American soldiers' stories from Vietnam to today and turned them into comic book stories. I mean, they're the real autobiographical stories, and they're not all about like really heroic stuff. Some of it's quite silly, and some of it's the stories people wanted to tell. But we wanted to show a more nuanced picture of life in the military, and also have a lot of validation for people who went through these things, so they can look at this and say, oh, someone else, my experience is validated by seeing this in print, which is really important to a lot of people. And then I did a giant sci-fi graphic novel with the film director Duncan Jones, who did Moon and Source Code and World of Warcraft, called Maddie. So like I'm just, I've got a thriller prose novel that just went in. I've got the TV stuff. Like I'm a mess. I'm like I think my agent would just be like, can you please just focus? I'm like, no.
This makes me feel so much better about myself. My agent does tell me that.
I'm a giant mess. Like you are like very like focused compared to me. You're good.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of jumping around at the moment. I feel like I'm finally, because I've got a middle grade and sci-fi, which is different than my YA contemporaries. But I would still like to try more stuff. I would like to write an adult fantasy one day. Graphic novels definitely on the list. I have like a project that I'm not allowed to talk about because obviously like publishing, you have to wait like a year before you can say anything about anything. But it's something with a company that's sort of like short story, like an episode thing. And it's so much fun, and I can't wait to talk about it. But it is fantasy, and so it's just been kind of like fun to do something different, I guess. And I don't know, it feels like going back to being just in your room alone, just like typing stuff.
Out of curiosity, sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Mine wasn't.
Okay, so this has just been on my mind lately, and this is kind of an aside, but do you also come up with your next idea after submitting the thing that you've been working on for a while? Because I do. And I think one of the reasons that I switch gears so much is that I don't want to sort of step all over the thing I just submitted and repeat myself too much. So I sort of go in the opposite direction.
Well, you've just lived it as well. I mean, especially with graphic novels, and if you're writing and drawing them, like, I mean, just drawing a page of graphic novel takes a day a page for most people. Some people are faster, some people are slower, but to create one page is one day. So you pick up a 200-page graphic novel, and that's 200 days of the artist's life. And then there's time on top of that for writing it. And then there's time on that top of that for lettering it. And there might be someone separate coloring it. So these are like, graphic novels are incredibly labor intensive, like, and very emotionally labor intensive and very poorly paid things to do. So Akemi, stay away. It's not worth it. Stick with prose. And so by the time you're done it, like, you don't want to immediately go do the same thing again. I think it's very true for prose too. So you see a lot of authors switching between a few different genres just because they want to break. They want to, their brain's kind of tired of going down this one particular route. And I tend to have two things going on at the same time. We always have a joke that you have your wife project and you have your mistress project, and the mistress project is the one you run away to when your wife project gets too hard. And then you sell your wife project, marry your mistress, and create a job vacancy. So I'm more dovetail. So, you know, I've had things that are slowly developing while I finished all this stuff. And now I'm finally getting to really get into the meat of it because I actually have the mental bandwidth to do that. But yeah, I'm now going off and doing like ridiculous adventure middle grade stuff, which is not an area I'm known for, but
I think we're all doing that. That's so funny because that's the thing that I've been playing with as well, like an adventure fantasy middle grade thing. So maybe we'll all be on the same panel in a couple of years talking about those books.
I think the pandemic also has something to do with it because, you know, normally a lot of the things that we would do to give our brains a break and have variety, like for me, I go to movies a lot, like old indie movies. I live in Manhattan. There's a lot of old revival theaters. And like, I'll go with a friend or just go by myself and like sit there and turn my brain off for 2 hours and watch the big box full of shiny lights. Like, we don't have that, you know, because we're all pretty much stuck in where we live. So I think there's even more of an impetus to try new things just because there's so much less variety in our lives than we're used to right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also feel like without fail, I hit like the 25,000 word mark and immediately I'm already thinking about something else. And I feel like it's a distraction tactic. It's like something in my brain that's like, work on something else, like just so you don't have to finish this one. It's terrible, so.
Well, I mean, that's like 25,000 words is like the vomit out, like the beginning of the story. Like you have that and like you kind of know what the end is. And then there's that whole middle bit, like where all the subplots have to work and all the beats have to hit right. And then you're like, no, maybe I'll just go outline something else.
yeah, totally.
But also that's a way of our brains processing things. So like, you're not just running away from your project. You're like, okay, I need to put this on the back burner and just like churn through how I'm going to do it and go do something else with most of my brain power. And then I bet like, you know, 4 days into messing around with your other project, you're like, oh, well, that's how that beat goes. And then you go back to your first project and, you know, out comes another 5,000 words.
Yeah, I call that the fallow period, where you just sort of like let it lie, and let the soil replenish itself.
In a drawer. Yeah. Writers and artists staring out windows, it's an important part of the creative process.
It really is.
We have, I think, time for one more question, and hopefully this will be ending on a fun note. I wonder if the styles of music in your books are the kind that you listen to on a daily basis. If not, you know, would you want to talk about the ones that you do listen to? Because, you know, if you like death metal or listen to dark wave in your spare time, it's totally awesome.
When you asked that, I thought you said Sound of Music, and I got really excited for some unexplainable reason. So, that's probably my answer. I like Broadway music, which is probably not. I listen to kind of a little bit of everything, to be honest. I like Billie Holiday. I like you know, Bon Iver, Taylor Swift, all that stuff too. But I like Broadway.
I have all sorts of different playlists. I like all like wildly different things. You know, I have my anime theme song playlist for like when I need to, you know, I can't face the day without like, you know, like the Neon Genesis Evangelion theme or like the Yuri on Ice theme. Like I just, you know, that's the like, go and do the thing. Like, we believe in you, get in the robot music.
It makes you feel so good, right?
I know, it's like, yes, I can do it. I have like an entire like jazz blues playlist that's all wordless, so I can like put it on the background when I'm working. I have like dark wave. I really like dark wave and synth wave, pop playlists. You know, there's just it just very much matches my mood. But also, I'm the kind of weird nerd who like loves to research. So if I'm like, well, this character likes this kind of music, I will then like spend a week learning everything about this kind of music and assembling a playlist to teach myself. And so that's like my Spotify playlists are just like the wreckage of projects and my weird brain. And you know, Spotify tries to recommend me things, but it's also diverse. I'm like, nice try, but no.
For me, I listened to a lot of cool indie stuff when I was writing these books, and then I had a baby. And so now my Spotify is totally ruined because it's all like Casper Baby Pants, who's terrific, by the way. It's if you know the band Presidents of the United States of America, it's the bald guy from that band reinvented himself as a children's musician, and he's pretty awesome at that. So I'm listening to a lot of Casper Baby Pants and a lot of Laurie Berkner. Check it out if you have a toddler in your life.
That was a great pitch, Hope. We'll definitely pass it along to the relevant people. Well, with that, I think we're running out of time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us to talk about these fantastic books and geek out about music and your process. Don't forget, Generation Misfits by Akemi Dawn Bowman will be on sale June 29. The Backups by Alex de Campi will be on sale April 13th, and both of those books are available for pre-order. Hope Larson's next book, All My Friends, is coming out this September. And the first two books, All Summer Long and All Together Now, are available now. So please go to your closest indie bookstore and check out all these awesome books.